Welcome, my friends, to the Horror Syndicate's Werewolf Wednesday show. The goal of the show is to shine a light on and talk about every single werewolf movie in existence, the good, the bad, and the ugly of them all. And there are a lot of bad ones, which I will get to eventually. Uh, the one I'm talking about tonight is The Werewolf and the Yeti, aka Night of the Howling Beast from 1975. Uh, it is one of the, I think, 13 films to star Paul Naschy as Waldemar Daninsky in the El Hombre Lobo uh, series of films. Although it should be noted that there's not much for continuity throughout all the films, at least from the ones that I've seen. Um, so for those who have not seen this film, I had, and if you want to, I did put the link to Tubi in the description, so you could follow the link and check it out if you want. It's free on Tubi, but with ads. But if you haven't seen it and you wanted to, I think you should check it out. Now, mostly from what I've gathered, uh, the werewolf versus the vampire woman tends to be kind of the fan favorite of the Paul Naschy El Hombre Lobo films. However, the Werewolf and the Yeti, aka Night of the Howling Beast, actually happens to be my favorite of the ones that I've seen, although I have only seen 6 of the 13. So I'm going to give my thoughts on the film, and I'll go through it all, and then I'll get to the comments after. So starting with the story. So after a Yeti is spotted in the mountains of Tibet, a team of scientists are assembled to locate and capture the creature. One member of the expedition, Waldemar Daninsky, played by Paul Naschy, decides to separate from his colleagues to explore the region of the previous sighting, and after losing his superstitious guide, he becomes lost until he spots a cave illuminated with light. Seeking salvation, Waldemar journeys into the cave and encounters 2 women, demons, who curse him as a werewolf. Meanwhile, his colleagues grow concerned for his well-being, and ignoring the meanings of the warnings of the locals, they tread dangerous territory and search for him and stumble upon a dangerous group of bandits. That's basically the story of it. I keep forgetting I was gonna have pictures kind of as I was going through them, so I'll pull some of them up. So so this is Waldemar in the cave. He comes across 2 women who kind of nurse him back to health, and then when he recovers, he sees them munching on some man meat, if you know what I mean. And they curse him, and he becomes a werewolf. So that is the gist of the story and what it's about. So I just want to kind of jump into this. So the pros of this film. I actually really like the story of the film. I think it's actually a pretty unique werewolf film in the sense that there's more danger than just a werewolf. And I like that these are people who are on an expedition, and so not only does Waldemar come across 2 women who are demons who kind of curse him into becoming a werewolf, but there's also this sort of subplot involving all of his colleagues searching for him and stumbling across these bandits who live in a palace in the mountains of Tibet, who capture and torture people. Um, so I think the story is actually uh, is pretty good, and I think it has a good setting. I actually like, uh, I, yeah, I like the wilderness setting. I like the setting in the palace for the final 20 minutes or so of the film, and I think overall this film has some good tension, and there's like a mix of uh, the violence. There are um, some things that are a little bit more suggestive, and you see the aftermath of. Um, and there are other scenes where you actually see the violence happen, but for the most part, what happens to his colleagues is mostly you see after the fact, with the exception of this one scene here, where you see what this group does to all these ladies. Um, and Yeah, I think it makes for good tension, good, I think, horror atmosphere. It's sort of unrelenting in, in the things that happen to this group of people. I mean, essentially, if you think about it, Voldemort, he, um, he basically gets all these people killed by journeying out. Um, so yeah, I think this film I think is overall good. Again, like I said before, it is my favorite that I have seen so far of the Paul Naschy El Hombre Lobo films. Um, the setting, the violence, and just I think the overall story, everything works for me. Um, Going into sort of my cons here, my uh, I got a couple of things here. One is sort of the funky editing, which I think is kind of expected when you watch these type of films, as well as the score. So the editing and the score, like really good at times, other times kind of a big miss. Um, the werewolf action is not great. It's like they don't show a lot of stuff like so like they show the werewolf attack, but you don't. I think it could have been more brutal in what they showed. It's basically a step above uh, the Wolfman, um, with the just like sort of like slashing and biting at the neck, and you don't really get to see much of the damage that it does. The werewolf action is decent, but my biggest issue with this film is like the final 8 minutes. So the film bookends. It begins and ends with a Yeti, and so the Yeti is the catalyst. Um, it's this thing that captures the attention of all these scientists who want to prove that it exists and want to capture it, and then the final 8 minutes of the film when Waldemar and um, his lady friend, drawn a blank on her name, Sylvia, when they eventually escape the palace, spoiler alert, I guess, uh, they come across the Yeti. And of course, Waldemar turns into he takes his werewolf form and fights the Yeti. And I just feel like that was I get it as far as like bookending the film with that, and with the Yeti being significant as far as being the catalyst. But it just kind of felt like tacked on, and it didn't feel like it was needed. I feel like the biggest conflict in this film, the most effective conflict is the bandits in the palace in Tibet. I think that is the major conflict, and it didn't need to have that final sequence in there. It I don't know. For me, I just felt like it was like a useless additional few minutes. Didn't really serve the story very well. All it did was it just bookended the film with the Yeti. Um, and yeah, so yeah. Uh, but I mean, other than those few things, so the final 8 minutes, the editing and the score being a little funky in spots, and some of the werewolf action not being great, I still really enjoyed this film. I've seen this 3 times now, um, and I like it a lot. Uh, I think it's a good werewolf film. It's not like one of the greats. Okay, it's definitely not one of the great werewolf films of all time, but I think it's a good werewolf film. Um, I think it's in the. I'm trying to remember where I have it in my 125 ranking. I think it's probably somewhere in the 20s. Just gonna double check that real quick. I should have done this beforehand. Yeah, I got a number 26 out of 125. I think it's a fun B movie, for sure. Um, I didn't prepare all of my scores. I should really do that, but I keep forgetting to do it before I go live. So uh, I do a system to come up with a final score. It's 10 different categories where I do stuff on a scale of 1 through 10, and then I total everything up to get my final score out of 100. So uh, for write in, I gave it a 6. I like the story. Now, this is a Spanish language film, and of course, the version that I watched, the version that's on Tubi, is a dubbed version. Um, and so I don't know if uh, any of the issues, so to speak, that I had with the writing. Uh, it just may have been a translation thing, as far as like the English dubbing. Direction, cinematography, I gave a 7. I think it's fine. I think it looks pretty damn good. Um, the score, I gave a 6. There's parts of it that work really well, and then there's parts of it that just seem like out of place with the rest of the film. Production design, I give an 8. I think the everything in the setting looks really good. I really like the palace set. Um, Looks really good. Acting, I give a 7. I like Paul Naschy as Waldemar, and I think uh, the actress that plays Sylvia here is pretty damn good as well. The I don't think I got a picture of it, but the leader of the the bandit group, um, he looks just like Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit Lions. I shit you not. I don't know. I just felt like I had to say that. But yeah, the acting I thought was good. The effects I gave a 7. I think there are good things here. I'll get into the werewolf design itself in a second, but so there are good moments of effects. This looks extremely brutal. Looks good. Um, Trying to find a specific image. Um, when this scene happens, I think it looks good. um, thought I had a specific image, but I guess not. Okay, I guess I'll just jump into the werewolf design. So this is the type of werewolf this is your basic wolfman type. Um, I think the makeup effects, it looks good. It's pretty close to the Jack Pierce Wolfman type of look. Um, and I think it looks fine. This is not my favorite type of werewolf design, but it's serviceable, and I think it looks really good. Um, werewolf action, I talked about it in the cons. I give it a 6. Is because there are some good stuff. There's some good werewolf stuff in here. I just wanted it to be a little bit more. I wanted to see more in terms of the brutality of the werewolf attacks. And then entertainment wise, I gave it a 7. So my total, if I did my math correctly, which I probably didn't, is a 67 out of 100. So I think on par with Skinwalkers, which I covered last week. Yeah, so Werewolf and the Yeti, again, is my personal favorite of the Paul Naschy El Hombre Lobo films that I've seen. I've seen 6 out of the 13, so there's a chance, that something else could jump as my favorite. But it seems like the fan favorite is the Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman, which I think is really good too. But it's been a while since I've seen that one, so I'm gonna give that a rewatch. I should be doing a show about it soon. Um, yeah, so I like the story. I like the setting. Um, I like the tension. Um, I like the way that it is. It is brutal without showing all the brutality, and I think that works in his favor. But in the cases of the werewolf, it doesn't work in his favor. I guess I'm complicated like that. Um, yeah, so I really enjoyed this film. Let's see what you guys think. So yeah, I gave it a 67 out of 100. Um, yeah, okay. So Sean Sheridan, Irish Sean, says both movies are bad. This and Skinwalkers both have some B movie fun, particularly the Yeti movie. Yeah, they're B movies. They're B movie fun. They're not like top tier werewolf films. But I think they are. I think both are really good. And finally watch Human Centipede, not a great movie, but for the shock value, it does the job. I have not seen that one. I have not, and I don't think I want to. What happened last night? Well, okay, so Ray has been sick. He We were gonna do a show Sunday night, but he was really sick, couldn't do it. Uh, Talked to him a little bit yesterday. He said he thought he was feeling better enough for doing the show, and then before we did a show, he let me know that he was feeling worse again. He's got some type of flu. I told him that from all the scientific research that I've read, a marathon of the Howling movies cures the type of flu that he has, particularly Howling 3, the marsupials. I guess, according to scientists, I don't know. That's just what I read. I could be lying. You are probably not far away from seeing every werewolf movie ever made. Actually, I'm very far away. So I've seen technically now 127. Um, and there's a lot more to see. Not to mention those new ones that come out every year. There's multiples that come out every year. So I should be good to go. But yeah, I am far from being every single werewolf film. Believe it or not, there is a lot out there. Uh, even to not great movies who are more forgiving than me on scores, but I hate everything, as I have been told for years here. Not wrong though. I am like, the thing I do question myself a lot, where I feel like sometimes I'm being too generous, and then when I do my final score, I feel like I don't feel like the final score actually matches what I think of a film. So like again, like last week, uh, Skinwalkers I think was like a 65 out of 100, and I feel like if you just kind of like ask me randomly without doing all the 10 categories, I would have said like a 70 to 75. Same with this one. This one I gave a 67, and I feel like it would be, if you just asked me randomly, I would say somewhere in the 70s. I think um, this is a movie I definitely enjoy. So it's complicated, where I do feel like I'm being too generous with all my scores per category, but I feel like at the same time, when they are added up, they don't necessarily reflect my opinion on the films that I'm talking about. So maybe there's a flaw in my system, or maybe just a flaw with me. Um, John says this show is fun as your president will make America great again. Seth is going to make werewolves great again, except you will actually make werewolves great again. Yes, let's make werewolves great again. I am down with that. Well, it's just funny too, because like there's always like this. It seems like there's like this, this talking point with a lot of people where there's not a lot of werewolf films, or there's not a lot of great werewolf films, and it's kind of true, that last part. There's a lot of werewolf films, but there's the majority of them are shit. I can say that for sure. But it's a subgenre of horror that I feel like is overshadowed by slashers. It's overshadowed by vampires. It's overshadowed by zombies. It's overshadowed by um, demonic possession films or ghost films, for fuck's sake. um, so like werewolves, I don't think they get enough attention, and and there are some really good werewolf films out there that kind of go overlooked because uh, you know they don't get released in theaters, or they don't get enough attention. That's how I found stuff like Late Phases, which is one of my favorites. You know, just taking a chance on werewolf films, and sometimes I have to sit through a lot of shit, and sometimes I'll find a gem. So yeah, let's make werewolves great again. I like that. Hello. We'll watch Naschy and everything. Yeah, so I haven't seen. Uh, Again, I haven't seen all of his werewolf films, his Waldemar Deminsky films, let alone other films where he's playing different characters. So yeah, but what is your favorite? What is your favorite? What is your favorite of the El Hombre Lobo films, his werewolf films, or what is your favorite Paul Naschy film in general? So far, The Werewolf and the Yeti is mine. If they have a number one fan award for werewolf movies, I'm voting for you, dude. Yeah, I would appreciate a vote in that if that was a real award. It was, and there are like I am not even close to being an expert in comparison to some people. There's some people who know and have seen every single werewolf film. There are people out there who have. I mean, there's books on it. Yeah, I was looking into the possibility of doing some sort of like book based on all the werewolf films that I've seen. But then when I was really looking into it, there's people who have really, really, who've already done it. They've seen way more than I have, and yeah, so that kind of took the wind out of my sails, so to speak. But yeah, believe it or not, I am not. I'm not the biggest expert. I'm working on it though. I love B movies, fun camping, and just can relax and watch. Yeah, and that's exactly. I mean, that's what a lot of werewolf films are. Is just uh, B movies. Very few I think are perfect. He is sick because I like talking about Christopher Nolan. I feel bad. Yeah, a hell of a marathon. Just what the doctor ordered. Better throw in Hellraiser marathon just for extra care. Yeah, um, that's what I've heard. Who holds the library for a majority of the werewolf movies? I don't know. I don't know. I was looking at a couple different. I was researching a couple different books, and there's I think there's books of people talking up to, but I think they include TV shows too. If I include TV shows, I could throw a few titles on there, but up to 300. Um, and then of course there's always going to be okay, is a question of whether a title actually counts, which is one that I struggled with when I came up with my list. But some people include certain stuff that I don't know if I would. I'm yeah, but there's tons of books on it. I mean, I wish I could say that was me. There are some shit vampire movies. Let's be fair here, off topic, but on the Oscars. There are definitely shit vampire movies out there for sure. Um, the Yeah, I could go probably into a rant on a couple. Um, but I feel like vampires get more of a fair shake than werewolves do, and I think they're slightly more popular. Like you could still see a vampire movie in a theater. Werewolf movies coming to the theater is rare. The last one I came to theater, well, okay, well, not the last one because Wolfman was, that's the property of a major studio, but before that, Werewolves had a limited run. But yeah, and as far as the Oscars, I don't watch. Do not watch. Um, I thought Honora winning was a joke, average movie, and I watched the other shock nominee, Amelia Perez, barf bag, worthy bad. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I used to watch those shows, but I haven't in years. They've stopped. They're really kind of they're nominating niche movies that very people have seen. It seems. Um, I don't know, and just not interested anymore. Horror Rises from the Tomb is a favorite. Okay, I will definitely have to check that out. Oh, sad Demi Moore didn't win Best Actress. I thought she would. Oh yeah, for The Substance, she probably should have. That was a great performance. Substance was really good. Um, Although on vampire movies, I like the first Twilight movie, Guilty as Charged. Ooh. I've seen, even though I haven't included them on my 100 plus list, I have seen the first two. I was just kind of being stubborn about it because I'm like, for me, those are shit films. But I probably should maybe give a rewatch, uh, so that way I can include all of them on my list and pad out my list. How about that? Um, that's why I love Underworld the best of both Lycans and Vampires. Yes, I actually just marathoned all 5 of the Underworld films over the weekend. Really enjoyed those films, especially the first three. 4 and 5 are okay, but the first three are great. I actually started with Rise of the Lycans first, and I did it because my girlfriend wanted to watch them. She wanted to rewatch them as well, and I wanted to watch one, but like she was doing something else, and so I was like, all right, well, I'll put in the one that she doesn't like, allegedly, and then that just led into watching all of them. But yeah, great looking werewolves, cool vampires. Yeah. The fact a horror movie did get nominated as progress horror is looked down on as the black sheep of genres. There's a lot of crap in there, let's be honest, but it has more good as a genre. Yeah, totally agree. Um, Genre films definitely get overlooked. It was good that The Substance at least got nominated. Uh, but I totally agree. Demi Moore should have won than people think. Yeah. So I'm all caught up on the comments. So about the werewolf and the Yeti. I really enjoyed this film quite a bit. Uh, I'm not a big fan of the Wolfman type. Um, yeah, because my preference for werewolves is the kind from like the Howling or Dog Soldiers or even the Underworld films. The big, um, bipedal, you know, m- uh, big snout, that type. Um, this type is not bad. This is just like more of an extension on the Lon Chaney, Jack Pierce, Wolfman. Um, and the Paul Naschy is definitely the Spanish Lon Chaney, as he's been called. Um, but yeah, Werewolf and the Yeti, I think, is really good. Um, it's a fun B movie, and quite possibly my favorite of the Paul Naschy films, at least the ones that I have seen. Um, it's brutal, intense, and it's I think it's got a good story. Not really a huge fan of the Yeti, not only being a catalyst, but coming back for the fight scene in the last like 8 minutes of the film. Um, but yeah, oh, there's the main bad guy who looks like head coach Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions. I mean, you can't really see his face great from here from this image, but when you see the film, you will know what I'm talking about. So, what do you think of the Werewolf and the Yeti, aka Night of the Howling Beast? Also, what title do you like better? I actually like Night of the Howling Beast better, even though the title, The Werewolf and the Yeti, I think makes a little bit more sense for the film. um, Sean says he loves that poster. Yeah, it's a good poster. Dog Soldiers, I have tried to like, I just don't. Okay, what don't you like about it? I don't remember. I know I did an episode on Dog Soldiers, and I don't recall what your opinion was on it. Um, but Dog Soldiers is, um, I think it's awesome. I think it's a really fun, kick-ass werewolf film. I know there are people out there who don't like it. Ray isn't really a big fan, at least now he says he he can't really remember the movie, so he can't say one way or the other. But previously, he has said he doesn't like it so much. My friend Darren doesn't really like it all that much. He likes it enough, but doesn't consider it great. But I love Dog Soldiers. Yeah, I've been over it. B movie schlock, no more on my list. The twist with the girl so obvious, and the character's not for me. Oh yeah, the reveal with Megan. It was a little corny how it was like done, and she gives that whole speech. But Dog Soldiers is a favorite. I have watched it many times. Yeah, same here. I think I got it at number 6 on my list. It's for me, it's just a badass werewolf film. I would have liked to have seen an actual transformation in it, and I would have liked more fur on the bodies of the werewolves. But other than that, I actually like the characters, particularly Spoon and the Sarge and Cooper. I just really like a lot of the main characters in that. Uh, the werewolf action I thought was really good. Just I think the overall vibe is just really fun. I think Dog Soldiers can be described as a fun werewolf film. Um, but yeah, so anyway, I don't see any more comments, so I'll probably head out pretty shortly. I know I flew by uh, everything I had written down about the werewolf and the Yeti. I'm just seeing if I miss anything here. Yeah, just to go over one more time, uh, the pros for the film is for me the story, the set-in, and the tension, and the suggestive brutality as far as the things that happen to the group of explorers when they are caught by the bandits. Um, the cons of the suggestive brutality is sort of like the lack of really good werewolf action. Um, the editing and score, good at times, not so great at other times. And then the bookend, I think, with the Yeti, especially, I don't mind the Yeti so much being the catalyst, although I think it would have probably been better if it was just a werewolf, but whatever. But the final scene, the final 8 minutes of the film, which when Waldemar turns into a werewolf and fights the Yeti, just feels like uh, out of place, even though the Yeti was clearly the catalyst for the story. When it comes back into it, it just feels like they were already beyond that whole thing. So, um, my scores 10-point category, maybe too generous. Writing 6, directing 7, cinematography 7, score 6, production design 8, acting 7, effects 7, werewolf design 6, werewolf action 6, and entertainment value 7 for a total of 67 out of 100. Although I feel like this is easily for me, if I came up with a number off the top of my head, it would be like 75. Um, I think this is just a fun, to a certain extent, fun B movie, and it's one that I've definitely enjoyed. So next week is going to be Wolf Cop, if I remember correctly. So yep, I'll be doing Wolf Cop, and then the week after that, I will be doing another Wolf Cop, the sequel. So those are the topics for the next 2 weeks. And if you if you don't remember what the next topic is, don't forget, there is that article on the horrorsyndicate.com that's actually included in the description. So you can check out the topic list there. Scott Walker, how you been? Says, hey, say hi, my friend. How are you today? Sorry, I've been very busy. Turning the house ready for the inspection. And Trish and I haven't had hot water for a couple of days, but the plumber fixed it. Oh, crazy! Seems like you've been very busy. But good to see you, Scott. Now seen. Oh, you haven't seen Wolf Cop. Yeah, those are super cheesy B movies, intentionally so. But give them a watch if you can. I think they are available on Tubi, if not, maybe Prime Video. I'll have to take a look into where you can watch them. But if you can't handle the first film, then definitely you won't be able to handle the second film. Uh, the Wolf Cop films are not for everyone, for sure. There's a lot of people who despise them, a lot of people who love them. I'm not going to say what side I'm on right yet. But yes, next week I will be talking about Wolf Cop, and you should check it out before the show. If a werewolf got into a fight with a Bigfoot or a Yeti, if a werewolf attacked a Bigfoot or a Yeti and got scratched a little bit, I mean, I'm assuming you're. It's kind of hard to understand what you're saying here, but I'm assuming you're asking that if a werewolf and a Yeti got into a fight and the Yeti got bitten by a werewolf, would it become a werewolf? Probably become a were-Yeti. We'll check out the trailer. Yeah, it's fun. I think it's fun. It's got some gross out stuff to it, but it's fun. I also got on Google for a couple days ago. It's been confirmed that Stu is Scream 7. How do you feel about this? I'm glad he's the killer mastermind in this movie. Yeah, well, we've talked about Scream 7 before, man. And I don't think Stu's going to be the killer. The fact that he was announced for the movie just doesn't make sense. He's going to be in the film in some way, but I don't think he's going to be the killer. But, that's just my own personal opinion, and I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will admit it. I was trying to say if a werewolf got into a fight with a Bigfoot or a Yeti, and the werewolf bit and scratched, would they become a werewolf or nothing? What happened to them because they're monsters? I don't know. That's actually a good question. At the end of the Werewolf and the Yeti, the werewolf and a Yeti do fight, and the Yeti is bitten, but I think it presumably dies. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think happens? Do you think they become a were Yeti? Uh, so yeah. Anyway, thank you for everyone who tuned in. I didn't really figure there was going to be a lot of people commenting on this one. The Paul Naschy movies, they definitely have an audience, but I don't think they have been seen by a lot of fans, by a lot of horror fans. And if you enjoyed this show and you want to check out hold on one second. Hey, girls. 1, stop fighting. 2, go to bed. 3, good night. Love you. Sorry about that. Anyway, so, and they're still fighting. They're still fighting. Anyway, hope everyone has a good night. I'll see you next week as I talk about Wolf Cop. And yeah, this should be a fun one. So Wolf Cop next week.